Hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of EFL Teacher Talk. My name is Sean Gallagher, and I'm your host. And today we'll be talking about a few topics submitted by Mr. Quinn Murray from Eikaiwa Green Mountain in Kuana, in Mie. Thank you, Quinn, for asking your questions, sending those to me by email. Thanks a lot. Today we're going to be talking about number one, textbook selection and pacing in your classes. Number two, tuition payments, do's and don'ts. So that's number two. And then number three, more of Sean's useful classroom tools. So we're going to jump right into it. Okay, so number one, textbook pacing. I'll be talking about textbook pacing the way that I do it here at my school. And obviously, there are a lot of different schools out there. I think everybody has their own, way to go about doing these things. So I'll share my experiences and share with what I think is pretty effective about the way that we do textbook pacing. So I think before we get into the actual textbook, you need to really consider about what type of class you're teaching. Now, it used to be maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, for those of you who were here 20 years ago. So back, 10, 15 years ago, it seemed like there were a lot of Eikaiwa classes. Now, when I say Eikaiwa class, I mean a once-a-week course. And in general, student fluency levels were pretty low. And so that's what I refer to. And then students are usually coming once a week, and the progress is it's fairly slow, but there's gradual improvement, over the course of, kindergarten through, let's say, junior high school or something. So one type that we have some Eikaiwa classes. Now, recently, international preschool programs have just taken off, right? There's a lot of growth in this market. There's a very strong demand for it. So, and there are also after-school lessons offered for your preschool students. And that's not exclusively a preschool graduate. It might be a returnee. So I think at a lot of schools, they call these classes returnee classes. I think at my school, we use the language, the kikoku class is short term for kikoku shijo, which means an overseas returnee. But these are basically classes where kids have very high fluency levels, and usually, off-the-shelf textbooks might not quite hold them. So there's some different techniques that you can use with both. So I'll start with my comments for what are we using in our Eikaiwa once-a-week program. And these kids will range anywhere up through, kindergarten. Actually, we have a pre-K class as well. Through elementary school and then a bit of junior high school. And it really just, there's quite a large, swath there. I think in general, the younger the kids are, the less reliant we are on textbooks. I think we revert to more of a worksheet curriculum for our lower level, for our younger classes. I think currently we're using a bit of the Happy Valley. We're using the Happy Valley series in 2 of our classes. After that, we're using the New Finding Out textbooks, which are very, very heavily supplemented by an in-house curriculum that I've created. After that, I have one course that uses Oxford Picture Dictionary for elementary 5th and 6th graders. Then once we get into junior high school, we're using a bit of My First Passport 1, My First Passport 2. We've also used Adventures Abroad, and we've also used Smart Choice. And these are the off-the-shelf resources that we're using. So this is textbook selection. Now, and it's interesting, so over on the Kikoku side, we're actually using quite a few of the off-the-shelf course books, English Land, Super Kids, I think Our Discovery Island, we're using those courses. It's interesting, the role of the textbook in these classes is very, very different. In the Eikaiwa type of classes, it seems like the textbook is crucial. You have to choose a textbook that is going to develop the skills in the kids that you feel are most necessary, which is why we rely heavily on the New Finding Out Sorry, we also use Think, Read, Write by Eric Kane. Sorry about that, Eric. Right? Shout out. But yeah, so in your Eikaiwa courses, you only have these kids for 1 hour once a week. You have to choose something good. Whereas on the returnee classes, these Kikoko level classes, it seems like the kids are more in there just to kind of practice their English. It seems like they already know a lot of English, and you're just constructing situations for them to operate in English. So it actually kind of doesn't even really matter what the textbook is in here, and it actually doesn't really matter on the pacing either in these Kikoko classes, because the focus is very much on just kind of getting in there and speaking some English. I've actually talked about this recently with my teachers about pacing of the textbooks, and it seems like in these classrooms, in these Kikoko level classes, in the returnee level classes, the teachers might use the textbook for 10 or 15 minutes of a 50-minute class. So they're very, very loosely following the textbook. So anyway, I hope that sheds some light on the selection of textbook. I think it really depends on what type of course you're offering. And then the pacing. I think, again, over on the Eikaiwa side, I think the pacing is very, very important because, again, you've selected these core skills that that you want your kids to develop. And I think you do need to follow a very kind of strict pace, I think, through this sequence. But for the other side, for the returnee side, it seems like pacing is very less of an issue. And, for these classes too, a lot of the parents, they don't even look, what their kids are doing. I think there's more of an agreement. I'm going to drop off my kid. He's going to speak some English with you, and then they're going to come home. I think the returnee customers seem to be much less focused on the textbook. So anyway, Quinn, I hope that helps. If you want to follow up on this or anything, give me a shout on you can leave a comment. I'd be happy to continue the conversation. So on to the next topic. The next topic, tuition payments, do's and don'ts. Okay, now again, kind of the same thing as before. A lot of schools are different. A lot of schools have a system that works for them and they swear by it, and another school has another system that works for them and they swear by it. And yeah, I think a lot of schools are very, very different. Depends on where you are in your business development cycle too, right? So if you're a one-man show operating out of a very maybe even your wife's somewhere on some land of some relatives or something, you're in a totally different situation than somebody who's renting a commercial space and hiring staff and has accountants and things like that. So again, it really depends, but I think it is worth spending some time talking about tuition payments. And Quinn's, your question in particular is, how do you process payment and how far in advance do you require parents to pay? Great questions. So I think right now, to be honest, I'm not very happy with our payment system right now. It's a weak point of our school. We're accepting actually 3 different types of payments, which is a bit of a pain. We accept cash, and we have an automatic payment system through the bank, it's Yucho Ginko, which is the post office. And we actually also accept direct furikomi or direct bank transfers into our bank account at another bank. And it's fairly complicated to keep track of it. Luckily, we do have a dedicated Japanese staff who can stay on top of those things. I think if I had it to do over again, I would maybe select a maximum of 2 payment methods, but it seems like it's kind of hard to get off of that right now. So that's how I process payments. And I think those are basically the big 3 too, right? It's either cash payments, maybe by Gesha Bukuro, or some sort of automatic monthly payment that can be set up by, I think the regional banks and the Yucho Ginko, the postal account, is very, very reasonable with their fees. And they've gotten a lot better about dealing with or accepting small businesses as customers lately. And then direct furikomi is another one. Your second question, I think, is really the better question here. How far in advance do you require parents to pay? Simple answer there. I think it's 1 month in advance or, a couple weeks in advance. But here you go. So I have some information for you, Quinn. If you're not doing this, you can buy me a drink later to thank me for all of the money that I'm going to make for you right now. So at my school, we also charge something. It's equivalent of last month's rent, if you were renting somewhere. We call it Zen no Kin. And the deal is when a student decides to quit, they need to give us a 1-month notice. And it's interesting, if you don't have the Zen no Kin, as you grow bigger as a school, more and more people will suddenly quit on you, right? They'll suddenly quit. They'll call up, oh, hi, oh yeah, by the way, actually we quit last week. So, I want my money back for the month. It's like, no, you can't do that. So anyway, when they sign up for the school, we make sure that we tell them about this 1 month in advance payment. It's Zen no Kin. And I cannot tell you how many, that thing has like saved my life. If I didn't have that, I'd be in deep trouble. So that's I hope, Quinn, that you can make some adjustments. And the nice thing is, like, the first month you implement that, you can actually go back and implement that, right? And be like, hey, by the way, 2019, it's a new year. We have a new policy here at the school, and the new policy is everybody is required to have a 1-month deposit with us. It's called Zen no Kin. It's 100% refundable as long as you follow the rules when you quit, which a lot of people don't. So it's been a great way for us to, number one, get a much, much higher compliance rate with our rules when people quit. And then when people don't, we still got them, right? We still have their money. And so anyway, that's been a lifesaver for us. So okay, for the last, I'll add some more of Sean's useful classroom tools. Today, I will take you into my classroom, into my actual classroom. It's right over there. And I'm going to show you some tools, materials that I have in my classroom that if I did not have these materials, I cannot teach a lesson. I am just verklempt without these things. So let's go. And here we are in one of my classrooms. We have these, we call these our digraph anchor image posters. These particular posters correspond to the New Finding Out textbook, New Finding Out 1. And they're actually done by David Lisgo of Blending a Hand. They come on the CD. We printed these out, so I have all your digraphs and dipthongs right here. One of the nice things about these resources is that it's very easy to banter with the kids at the beginning of class by going over to just any word and just talking about it a little bit. So I might say, hi class, how are you today? My name is Sean and I am a teacher. Everybody please repeat, ready? You're a very nice teacher. And then of course the nice kids will repeat that. They'll say, yes, very nice teacher. And of course the kids who are not nice will flip it on me and they'll say, very bad teacher. So anyway, I get a lot of mileage off of these things, both for my warm-up and then of course when I'm teaching any of my New Finding Out classes, just having a reference, a permanent reference that's on the wall, you can really verify that the kids are using the proper ideas when they're processing the language. So that's it. This is one of my go-to classroom resources. I could not teach my classes if I did not have this stuff up on the wall. And we're back. So anyway, everybody, thank you for tuning in again for another edition of EFL Teacher Talk. I can talk. With your host. Again, I'm your host, Sean Gallagher, and I'm going to be coming at you every week with issues facing EFL teachers. If you guys have any other questions, comments, either on today's topic or if you have a request for something for next week, please hit me up on the comments below. Also, you can direct message me. And that's it. I hope everybody has an awesome week. Actually, I hope everybody has an awesome Monday off. Woohoo! And I hope everybody has an awesome week of teaching. And good luck in your classes out there. If there's something that you need help with, please let me know in the comments below. Okay, everybody have a good one. Bye.